This video is going to be a film study look at the Detroit Lions offense betraying them at the worst possible time in Saturday night's 45-31 loss to the Commanders, ruining a 15-2 regular season home field advantage in the playoffs. Yes, the defense was compromised, but I think the offense went away from who they are from a run-pass balance standpoint, but also the system that Jared Goff and Ben Johnson had in play, whereby Ben Johnson calls at least one play, maybe two in the huddle, and Goff has the ability to check to the correct play depending on the look the defense shows. Those are there, and I intend to show you at least one instance of it in this film study video. Look, there will be 3 positive plays here, but generally this is going to be negative. I think I've got 8 or 9 plays queued up to illustrate, to paint the picture that I think Ben Johnson just put forth his worst or second worst play calling game in his tenure in Detroit, which appears to be coming to an end if you believe the reports that are on social media. Certainly looked like a guy calling plays who knew that he was moving on. The dynamic, the vibe there of that Lions team was just totally different. I don't know about you, I haven't seen that dynamic, that level of impatience at all in 2 seasons of 2+ seasons, of covering this Lions team. It'll take a while, I'm sure, for Lions fans, for myself as well, to be able to produce content that kind of encapsulates what Ben Johnson and Jared Goff were able to accomplish. I think they reached incredible heights, obviously leading the league in points per game at 33 per game. Washington's defense did really nothing to stop Detroit from running their system. Ben Johnson just had them walk away from it. I don't think Washington's they got 5 turnovers, 2 poor throws by Jared Goff, at least one really subpar play calling decision by Ben Johnson, if you ask me. I'm going to get to the film here in a moment. I think Ben Johnson's the leadoff hitter here for the slippery or downhill slope that Detroit's offense went on in terms of the turnovers and basically not playing for 3rd and 2. To flip it a little bit, how did Washington approach things offensively? Well, they ran their spread, option-based concepts, horizontal attack, and they were willing to get to 3rd and 2 or 4th and 1. It worked for them. They continued to go for it on 4th and 1. Detroit did get a stop on the first possession. The Commanders went away from the 2 quarterback look with Mariota and Jaden Daniels on the field at the same time. My point is, Detroit could have done the same thing. Play for 3rd and 2, and then deal with the results or deal with the consequences at that time. Jared Goff and Ben Johnson both seemed very unwilling to play in that manner of playoff football style. And the crazy thing about it is they had an absolutely hot hand in Jamir Gibbs, who was shredding Washington's defense on downhill or angled run concepts, off tackle. If they could get him to the line untouched downhill, Washington couldn't deal with him. When they did start to have success, or what they did defend well, was slower developing run plays, counter schemes, and I'll show you one on the first possession of the game, as well as some of the drop back passes that Goff was asked to execute, and the pass rush was able to try to formulate some pressure on Goff and get in his field of view or pressure him into quicker throws than he maybe wanted to make. Let's get to the film. Like I said, I've got 8 or 9 plays queued up. This is going to be from the first possession. And, how much did they miss Kevin Zeitler? I don't know. The first play of the game seemed very ho-hum to me. I even put that in my notes. Montgomery in the backfield, 2 tight ends to the right. Let's run his own concept off tackle to get 3 yards. Here's the second play. And this is the OLB that's going to run upfield and make a tackle for loss. It's Fowler. Mahogany, a little bit slow getting out of his stance, maybe. He's supposed to be kicking out. It's a counter concept. He's supposed to be kicking out the edge defender. And then Penei Sewell is going to wrap. And since it's a same side counter, so what I mean is the counter's coming here, and Goff is handing the ball off on that side as well. There's opposite side counters. It's a same side counter. The angle for the OLB is such that he's able to get there before Montgomery can get underneath of that kick-out block. I do think Mahogany's a little bit slow here in getting to him, but look, Fowler's just running upfield. There's no real technique here for Fowler. I think he might have identified something pre-snap. You don't necessarily see it here, but he pointed to St. Brown before the snap, so it's possible he had an inkling or an idea of what was coming, and in this case, he beats Mahogany upfield, essentially defeats the scheme, decks Montgomery for a counter or a tackle for loss on counter. They really destroyed that first possession. Again, defensive end getting upfield is not necessarily something that would normally defeat counter. You're just going to get kicked out and open up a bigger run lane. In this case, it worked out for Washington. I do think that Mahogany is a little bit slow getting out of there. You can't blame Ben Johnson for that. Going to move to the third possession here, one that I think you can absolutely assign some blame to Ben Johnson and or Jared Goff. Lions scored on their second possession. There'll be time to go over Jamir Gibbs' effort. I intend to do that in a film study video, maybe Monday or Tuesday if you're interested. I understand it's going to be very difficult to pay attention to content this week. 12 personnel here on a 1st and 10. Getting Gibbs downhill. This is a designed wind back. So they're intentionally starting off the flow in this direction and then getting him underneath of the tight end, winding it back to Bobby Wagner. I will give you the end zone angle of this one. And then Gibbs is dancing once and then getting to the outside. Huge play for 33 yards where you see his speed and his burst. Washington's very fortunate that this didn't get taken to the house. Like I said, that one ends up being a 33-yard gain. It's not a counter play. They're not waiting for a pulling lineman to kick someone out. This is essentially a zone scheme with a wind back block by Brock Wright. Brock Wright starting to the left. So is Gibbs, and then bringing it back underneath of that. Decker does lose to the DN. Gibbs makes some magic happen. Turns up the left sideline. I think it's St. Reese, still a Michigan guy, a Michigan rookie, in fact, is able to make the tackle, push him out of bounds, force Detroit to execute more concepts before they can get an end zone. And they were unable to do that. This is an important moment for me, leading 7-3. Gibbs absolutely getting downhill on these guys, whether it's in the run game or the pass game. If you recall, I think he had a 24-yard reception on the second possession. And then on a 2nd and 7 here, 2nd and 4, Washington goes to a 6-1 look. And what's interesting to me is Washington's in a 6-1 look, presumably to stop the run, with 4 interior defensive linemen. Really, this is Fowler. He's an OLB, just kicked down to a DN position in a 3-point stance. And they don't really get anything done here off the left side. There's no numbers here, in my opinion, but I'm not real critical of this play call. I'm just illustrating to you that on a 2nd and 4, when they had 3 plays left to get 4 yards, they're willing to run the ball against this 6-1 look to a side where they don't have numbers. Basically, because the tight end isn't there, 2 tight ends, in fact, are here. Neither tight end is to the far side. Jamison Williams is going to get the safety. And there's no numbers here, in my opinion, running against a 6-1 to the weak side. The corner gets involved along with Chin. But you're still on track. You got 2 yards. You're a 4-down team. If you're willing to run the ball on 2nd and 4, then you get to 3rd and 2 and show this level of impatience. Empty was not good for this team on Saturday night for whatever reason. So it's 3rd and 2, and Washington has given you this solo inside linebacker look again. Here's Frankie Lavu as the other inside linebacker. He's walked up. Let's call him a Sam. A Sam meaning someone who in a 4-3 structure plays inside linebacker or outside linebacker on the line. So he's just a very versatile dude. Wagner is the solo Mike linebacker. It's 3rd and 2. You have 2 downs to get 4 yards. That's who Detroit is. And they go empty and throw the ball. I don't know why Ben Johnson's calling this play and not getting the ball to Jamir Gibbs. And I don't know why Jared Goff isn't checking to a run play. Maybe he didn't have the option to here. Yeah, you can talk about Graham Glasgow if you want. He's getting his ass kicked, and Jared Goff gets stripped. No ball security here. He's looking for St. Brown. St. Brown seems to trip over his own feet, trying to get out here. The way this works out, Laporta is kind of checking up against man, and then Jamison Williams is running what in essence is a slot fade. There's really only 2 options here for Goff, given the amount of time he has. St. Brown here, or Jamison Williams on that pseudo slot fade against man. I would prefer, well, let's do it this way. What's the floor for this play? You just saw it, right? A strip sack. That's the floor. Glasgow's beat. What's the floor for a downhill run concept with Gibbs on 3rd and 2? I don't think this is the floor for a Jamir Gibbs run concept on 3rd and 2. I think the ceiling is he pops it for a touchdown and you're up 14-3, which is what you wanted to happen. The level of impatience of play call and lack of recognition from Ben Johnson, it's surprising, it's shocking. I think he's a guy who's extremely prepared. I can't help but fall back on my analysis from the reaction video late Saturday night or early Sunday morning that I think his workflow was interrupted by the constant stream of interviews and discussion about it. I don't know if I can't prove it, It's my theory. You're welcome to disagree with it if you wish. Does Washington deserve credit for playing hard on defense? Certainly they do. They don't have requisite talent to stop Detroit's offense, absent turnovers or stupid play calling or decisions by Jared Goff, and that's how it ended up happening. So instead of being up 14-3, they give the ball back to Washington, who goes down scores to go up 10-7, and in fact, later on in the second quarter, it's 17-14. The unfortunate thing is Detroit, and to kind of back up the statement I just made about Washington's defense not having requisite talent to stop them consistently, on that third possession after the strip sack of Goff, Washington goes down the scores, Detroit answers with a score, and then Washington scores again. So you have a situation where Detroit gets stopped on their first drive, scores on the second possession. I didn't show you anything there. Third possession ruined by, I think, poor play calling by Ben Johnson and lack of instrumental decision-making by Jared Goff that's been on display for 2+ years. Fourth possession, Detroit scores. You have enough evidence there, if you ask me, to say, hey, if they don't turn the football over, they're going to be able to get things done. Here's the fifth possession, 17-14. This is what changes the game. Really cool coverage by the Commanders. It's a drop Tampa 2. So basically, it's a 3-man rush. Guess who uses this a ton? The Minnesota Vikings. And when Goff saw this by the Vikings, he chewed this up just by taking what was available to him and then living to operate another day. That's a defensive tackle spot shadow. Goff is not willing to take what's here. Now look, if he's, and look, you can see he's reading in this direction. If he were reading in this direction, clearly he's got St. Brown running a sharper, quicker route. And I think that's part of the point here. Look at St. Brown's depth. He's already getting into his turn. He would be available to catch the football. And Tim Patrick hasn't even turned yet. Maybe the foot speed, the agility of Patrick, or the lack thereof, compared to St. Brown at least, is a part of this deal. But it's a wobbler, floater by Goff, ends up getting taken back to the house. Yeah, Goff gets smashed by Frankie Lavu, should they call it? I don't know, man. That's not what I do in terms of analysis. I'm trying to explain to you why I think this is such a poor game from a Ben Johnson and Jared Goff standpoint. Really, really sad in some ways for Lions fans, because to have that duo end it possibly on this type of game against this defense, that's the thing that's going to make it difficult for Lions fans to move on from for a while. 3-man rush, really cool by the defensive tackle, getting in the window. Mesh sit, really, where these guys are reading and kind of sitting down. Jameson Williams, it looks like a mesh sit from a Jameson Williams route standpoint. My apologies, because he's sitting down in the middle of the field. Defensive tackle, underneath of it, you can see 4 defenders here. Get the ball to Laporta underneath. It is a 2nd and 14, by the way. I believe I maybe misspoke earlier and called it a 1st and 10. High throw, Patrick slow in his route. Goff, for whatever reason, it's a floater, a ball that on a clean throwing platform gets up high on him, and then Goff ends up getting smashed on it. 24-14 Commanders into the second quarter, right? Goff is got to go get checked out because he's down. A huge hit. Look, I don't know what they tell him at the NFL level, but if I had any input, and I have coached nowhere near that level, I'm telling guys like Jared Goff, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, they get paid $50 million a year. Don't get anywhere near that, all right? We need you. So Goff is out, and obviously this is going to be a very productive play and an impressive one that's fun to watch. They use Jamir Gibbs' gravity and how well he's been performing, how he's been gashing the defense. They use it against Washington, right? It's 24-14 at this point. Bridgewater is in the game. Really cool for Bridgewater. Guy wins a state title at his alma mater in his first year as a coach and then gets signed and gets into the game. You don't want him to get into the game for the reasons that he did. Smartly getting in the way here. And look, these offensive linemen get out in front. I think that's Brock Wright out. Is over at this point. Is really over. You understood that it was. Nice job by Brock Wright. Would I like to see better ball security here from Jameson Williams and a more appropriate celebration? Absolutely. I don't know if it means anything to you. It really doesn't mean anything to me. But to be honest with you, that would just be one thing that I would mention to him if I was in any position to do so. It's a counter scheme. So pulling the guard, pulling the tackle, trying to get these guys' eyes and possibly even this safety, forcing him to flow in that direction. The only guy that really does is Wagner. But because of Jameson Williams' speed, I guess Chin does as well. Because of Jameson Williams' speed, and the initial couple of blocks here and here, Williams gets to the corner, and it's over. It's 24-21 at this point, at the point in time that he crosses or flips into the end zone, I should say. Look, the reality is Detroit's defense, because of the dearth of talent over there, was not going to be able to hold down this Washington offense. They're committed to their option spread-based attack, and Jaden Williams, executes it at a high level. He's reading the defensive end, sometimes the inside linebacker. Didn't see any RPOs. Maybe there was one play that looked like a post-snap RPO. I thought most of the RPOs that he executed in the game were pre-snap, just numbers. Meaning, okay, they do or don't have numbers over here to the bunch. I'm going to go ahead and throw that over here once I read the outside linebacker or the inside linebacker. But from a Lions standpoint, it's 24-21, 31-21 after Washington goes down and scores. Protect the football, run the ball with Jamir Gibbs, get the ball to Jamir Gibbs somehow, and win the game. Bottom line. Other than that, I don't think you have to be impressive. You just want to move on to the next round. And in my opinion, Ben Johnson's impatience on play calling and Jared Goff's inability to follow suit, Jared Goff's inability to shift in another direction from maybe what Ben Johnson had called, really has undone 2+ years of incredible momentum and performance and execution by this team. This is late second quarter. I think this is a poor throw by Jared Goff. Do I think that Jameson Williams could adjust to it? Absolutely. He could adjust to it. They're taking away the underneath to St. Brown. This is the mesh sit route. These two guys are sitting down here against what they are reading as zone. So as a result, Goff takes the post. Fine. Okay. I get it. I wouldn't have a problem if we got the ball down here to one of the underneath guys and we got tackled after a 4 or 5 yard gain. It's 31-21. You want a touchdown, but you need points. Would 31-28 at the half have been great? Absolutely. I think Goff has got a couple of choices. He could throw it on a little bit higher trajectory. Here's the ball. And I'm not really going to be able to do this very well on this screen. He could throw it on a higher trajectory such that it's over the top of the defender and Jameson Williams can catch it or not catch it in the back part of the end zone. Josh from our Lions Discord also pointed out, this ball could be thrown more in this direction as well so that the DB can't close on it. I think Jameson Williams did a poor job of adjusting to the football. I also think it's a poor throw by Jared Goff in this situation. Huge for Washington to be up 31-21 at the half. Why? Because they got the ball to start the third quarter. Now, the interesting thing from a Lions perspective is they were able to get one stop to open the third quarter, play in their man defense, and hand the ball back to the offense. Look at the second quarter. You have the pick six that Washington is able to get to go up by 10, and then the interception at the end of the second quarter. If you're able to score on one or both of those drives, totally different game dynamic. I think that all points back to Ben Johnson and Jared Goff. I understand people want to focus on Aaron Glenn. The large majority of my focus on this video is on the offense for the Detroit Lions. So it's 38-28. We've skipped the third quarter entirely, 2nd and 5. And just to point out or go against, the perspective of this. Hey, Goff was concussed and he didn't know how to make good decisions. It's a 2nd and 5. The Commanders have brought a chin on a blitz here. And so there's a lot of space with Tim Patrick against Frankie Lavu. And he stiff arms Lavu, which is kind of crazy, and then takes a huge shot from Lattimore. Lattimore looked more active in this game on film. He had not played. He'd only played, I think, 11 quarters of football for Washington prior to this game, but he played a whole lot better, looked more active and quicker to me, possibly getting back to full health. Makes a huge shot on Tim Patrick. But my point here in showing this one is it's fourth quarter, early fourth quarter, I think 14:30 left, something like that. Underneath route to Tim Patrick generates you 22 yards. You don't need anything, in my opinion, revolutionary. You certainly don't have to score on the very next play. And to me, this play call is as bad as any decision or throw that Jared Goff made, and certainly just as bad as the play call, the empty on 3rd and 2 on the third possession, that I really have a problem with. I would say that one and this one is about as bad as it gets from a Ben Johnson perspective. And it's not fun for me to sit here and criticize Ben Johnson. I don't know if you guys recall, if you're a Lions fan, you're watching this far. Before the Lions came to Baltimore and played the Ravens in Week 7, I may have spent 30 hours creating 2 previews for that game, one of which was about Mike McDonald versus Ben Johnson, and we used a Star Wars Jedi theme for it. The amount of time that you dedicate, anyone, you, me, or people that you know that you dedicate to something, I think illustrates how much you care about it, how much you respect it. I look up to what Ben Johnson and the offense has been able to accomplish, particularly with Jared Goff coming over and viewed the way he was coming over from the Rams. For it to end in this way with this type of play calling, for me is, well, it's worthy of being critical. So it's a fake inside counter scheme, and it's using Gibbs's gravity to pull defenders. I'm fine with that. I just don't know why we've got to go to this extra layer. I already see 2 layers here. Layer 1, the fake toss to Gibbs. Layer 2, the inside counter to St. Brown, your best football player, or one of your best football players. And then pitching it back to Jamison Williams. Should Jamison Williams throw the football? Of course not, right? St. Riestel's done a great job up there. What a crazy situation. St. Riestel, great story from his college career. Plays at Michigan, wins a national championship, and then comes back and has 2 picks in Detroit. Extremely difficult to fathom that set of circumstances. But I'm going to protect Jamison Williams here. I wouldn't put Jamison Williams in this position. I wouldn't advocate for putting him in this position. Who would I advocate for putting in this position? I don't know, a veteran who's maybe got experience throwing the ball. David Montgomery. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think Jamison Williams is the guy that you put in this position and now open him up to criticism like, why'd you throw this football? You shouldn't have thrown this football. I get it, and I agree with those assertions. In my opinion, Ben Johnson is the adult in the room that is responsible for making those decisions. Down 38-28 at home with a great offense, with all the weapons you have. I don't think Jamison Williams is the guy that should have to make this decision. I think it should be Jared Goff. And if it's possible that the coaching staff recognized, hey, Goff's not making good decisions, he's not throwing the football sharp, I don't know, maybe give the ball to Jamir fucking Gibbs, like the guy that was shredding their defense the whole time, or St. Brown. There seems to be better options for me, hence the title of the video. I think that the empty formation should be called into question. Ben Johnson's usage of it twice that led to interceptions, one of which was a pick six. 2 usages of empty that led to turnovers. The strip sack of Goff on the 3rd possession, and then the pick 6 in the 2nd quarter that put Washington up by 10. Those formational decisions by Ben Johnson should be called into question and criticized. Who knows how much longer he's actually in Detroit? My suspicion is that by Tuesday afternoon he's hired by the Las Vegas Raiders, but I could be wrong. In any case, this is my film study / commentary review of what deconstructed, destroyed, derailed the Detroit Lions season, unfortunately, in a way that none of us could have predicted. The Washington Commanders are moving on, all credit to them, but I don't think that defense is one that stands up to a more focused, concentrated, prepared Detroit Lions offense that recognizes in late first quarter, hey, maybe we should make sure that Jamir Gibbs gets 30 touches because they're having difficulty tackling him. Let's force them to deal with this guy who was the largest threat on the game for us. On the field for us. In any case, appreciate you guys' time, man. Let me know what you think of the video in the comment section. If you think other Lions fans would like to sit through a film study review of some of the mistakes that I believe Ben Johnson and Jared Goff made that largely determined this game, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.